Okay, thank you. How many people here aren't in one of the two business classes? Oh, well, great. Well, thank you for coming. That's what our tremendous marketing, the school was real good at it, and we had a committee put flyers all over the school, so I'm glad we brought out a couple of people. And anyway, I'm glad most of the looks like a lot of people from the day. How many people are from the 1 o'clock class? Great. Oh, thank you. That's terrific. I think you may have be more than for the 7 o'clock class. In any case, thank you for coming over here to meet our special guest, Angela Molloy. And she's going to be the first half of the class till around 8:15, 8:30. And we'll take a break. And please, the people who are in the classes, please come back, because we're going to do a second half with student presentations and articles and all the usual things that we do in the second half. And since we obviously can't use table tents tonight, please, when you make a contribution verbally, start with your name, so that the people who are taking down participation will know who to give credit to. So, first, let me introduce the lady sitting over here, Angela Molloy. I'm sure most of you know, but for any who don't, is Vice President of Development of WeTV, the cable network. She's based in Los Angeles. It's part of the AMC networks. She works closely with West Coast-based production partners and agencies to find fresh, new, unscripted, aka reality programming for the network. And she's also done lots of producing of reality shows, credits including Million Dollar Listing, Mansion Hunters, Miss America Live, Mario Lopez Wedding Special, Scott Baio is 45, and lots of others. And we're going to have 3 parts to Angela's appearance. She's going to talk about anything she likes, and then she's going to take some presentations from you guys. We're going to hear some what are called elevator pitches, which is a 1-minute pitch of your series idea. It's called an elevator pitch because the idea is if you happen by chance to get into an elevator on the first floor and somebody like Angela, Vice President of Development somewhere, is in the elevator and the doors close, you've got a minute until the doors open on the floor and Angela leaves the elevator. So you've got that amount of time to sell her on something. So they call it an elevator pitch. So I've asked a few people to be prepared with those. And then we'll just take questions in general from the audience and questions that you've written in advance. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce our special guest star, Angela Molloy.
Can I step over there?
Okay. Who will immediately leave me and go over there?
You alone. All right, so first I would ask you all, I know it's the evening, that we try our best to engage. I don't want to see any texting or Instagramming tonight.
Good idea.
Because if I see it, I brought my mom. She's going to she's going to beat you up. She's Italian. That's right. And what I'll do is I'll make it really awkward by asking you a question. So, I want you guys to participate and have fun and take this up. I've done this twice before at the wonderful invitation of your lovely professor, and it's a lot of fun, and so I want you to have fun and try to get your questions answered. I'm going to try to stick to our time here so there's enough time to get to the pitches and the questions, so I may be blowing through some items and we can follow up on them. I'm not very good at PowerPoint. I asked one of my colleagues to give me a template, and then really all I can do are words, so just forgive me. But our agenda, I just wanted to briefly talk to you about my career path. In this business, I have only been in television since college, so it's all I know. I don't know what else I would do. Probably work at Trader Joe's. We'll talk about some tips for breaking in. I think that's the number one question I always get asked, especially by people your age. We'll talk a little bit about pitching in the landscape and climate of reality TV. A lot of people have, we're still sort of the bastard stepchild. My company is owned by home of The Walking Dead and Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and there we are, little old we with Braxton Family Values. But we're very proud, and we're small but mighty. So we'll talk a little bit about the landscape of reality TV, get to your pitches, and then do some Q&A. All right, we ready? Everybody's excited? Yeah, whatever. Okay. I wanted to just tell, so I grew up in the East Coast, or on the East Coast. I went to Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh. I was not a film student by any stretch. That is a a very practical, sort of vocational-based university, so I got a professional writing degree and minored in film, did as much as I could, but mostly I interned. In college, I did 3 internships for credit at a PBS station, at a CBS affiliate, and the BBC News in Washington, D.C. So it sort of felt like I was running the gamut. Graduated without a job, as most of you will. Not a big deal. It's going to happen. These are jobs, if you want to go into production, if you want to go into the business, you can't, there's no lead time on those jobs. Normally, you get hired, for a job that starts on Monday on a Friday. So it's okay. I'm here to assure you that that's fine. So I went the corporate route for a long time. I moved back home, back east to DC. I worked for the PBS local affiliate station. I worked for PBS. Then I worked for the TLC cable network, which is headquartered in Maryland. It's part of Discovery Communications. They own Animal Planet, Discovery Channel, blah, 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 tons of networks. And then, like we all do in this business, I was laid off when we had a management change. And at that point, it was either East Coast or West Coast. Where was I going to go? What was going to happen? Thankfully, I was working in development at this point, so my entire interaction every day was production companies, and mostly in Los Angeles. So one of the production companies I worked with hired me. So I literally came out here with my car and boxes and worked for a production company called 3Ball. And at the time, we produced The Biggest Loser, Beauty and the Geek, and I was brought in to help launch their cable business. So now I was on the sales side. First, I was a buyer at a network, taking the pitches. Now I become a seller, where I'm whoring myself out to all the networks and pitching shows all across town, and thankfully selling them because we had a great brand. TLC decided to start a Los Angeles office. I knew the guy who was starting it up. I went back to network for 1 year, and a year later we all got fired. I like to be very honest about these things because it does happen. But that threw me into my next career, which was freelance. A friend of mine called me and said, I just sold this presentation to the Style Network. Why don't you come be a supervising producer? And I'm like, okay. And then that was a 6-year career in production. I worked my way up to executive producer and showrunner. So this job I just started back in December. I was headhunted into it. And I think the one thing I want to tell you, if I went back through this timeline, is how all the jobs connect. Because it's probably the number one thing. When you ask, how do you break in? So let's work backwards. Number one, when I was a senior in college, I worked as an intern for credit for WQ Pittsburgh, home of Mr. Rogers. My boss on that show went on to work for TLC. One day, a couple years later, after I've graduated, I'm working at WETA, the PBS affiliate station in DC. I run into my boss on the metro. She's going down and I'm going up. Oh my God, Gina, amazing, nice to see you. Exchange business cards. She says to me, there's an opening at TLC. You should apply for it. I did. She championed me in. I get the TLC job. I skipped a step only because I went to PBS, also through a connection. I started at the PBS affiliate, and a good friend of mine got hired at PBS, the network, and said, you should come with me. So I did. So that was step 2. Then, as I told you about moving to LA, that was through a company I was already working with. And then when I went back to TLC, through somebody I was already working with. Every freelance job I ever had, I rarely interviewed for. It was somebody called me and was like, hey, are you available? Yeah, I'm available. Here's a show I have. You want to work on it? What's your rate? Yeah, okay. So, networking, it's probably the bane of your existence. You probably hear it all the time. I cannot stress the importance of networking in this business. Just today, I'm going to call you out, Alex, wherever you ended up sitting. Just today, I went to a pitch meeting, 10:30 this morning in North Hollywood, California, for Fly on the Wall Productions that produces, does anybody know? Don't answer, Alex. Big Brother. They're the producers of Big Brother. I went to their office, and the first thing out of their mouth was, are you speaking at Chapman University tonight? Because our intern goes to Chapman. That's how small this world is, that this morning I was in the same building. So, again, people will tell you that all the time when you graduate or you're looking for internships. This is about every single person that you know. I cannot stress this. 2 years ago, I was here. I met a bunch of students several of whom followed up, one of whom I brought to set with me. So good about following up. He's now a casting director. We're Facebook friends, and I'm like tracking his progress. But he sort of politely kept in touch with me. You basically have to reach out for information from everyone you know. Use your alumni connections. Ask for informational interviews. You know, you publications like synopsis.com. There are some resources, but really it's about looking at credits, seeing what you like, and trying to get yourself out there. So again, breaking it sounds very simple, sounds very whatever, 100% true. I actually don't know what I had to interview for this job, and I was so thrown off by the experience of having to interview for something that I was like, what? But I still knew all the people. If I didn't know them personally, I knew somebody who knew them. So it's a very small business. So I want to stress that. We talked about publications, but there's something I like to say to this generation of you. If there's one winning formula that I'm here to irritate you by stressing, the winning formula for this very difficult business: patience plus curiosity. Please don't be entitled. You do not have enough experience to have your boss's job 6 months into it. One internship does not make you a vice president of programming. So I encourage you, in an ever-changing business with digital and broadband and Vine and the way that channels come in and out and executives come in and out, I encourage you to keep learning and be patient. You can get there. If you want to stay in this business for your whole career, you need to learn. So I think a lot of people, I know a lot of 36-year-olds were heard from again, way too fast and lost it very quickly, because it can end like this. But any day in this business that you're not learning is not a good day. Every day should be a challenge, and I want you guys to really treasure that and pay attention. And the most menial, as a showrunner, I did pilots where I was on the road in 10 cities over 2 weeks, slugging all the gear and camera equipment by myself, and at the end of the night, transferring all the SD cards onto hard drives and sending it back to LA to be edited. It is dirty work, but I learned everything, and then I can say to people, you know what, I know how much that costs because I've actually done it, and I know how long that takes. So every experience is an experience, and I really want you to remember that. All right, physical examples. We talk again. The landscape. Had an assignment to do reality TV shows. Great. So let's talk about the climate, because I know your generation too also says, and there were a lot of these questions going, what's going to happen to reality TV? There's no more reality TV. I assure you we're still here, because we're still the more cost-effective solution than scripted programming. So we are still around. These are some quick stats. Yes, ratings are down across all networks, even though, just because there's thousands of channels now. There's tons of competition and tons of saturation. But look at the numbers. Bravo, 430 original hours of unscripted programming last year. TLC, 498. That is a 24/7 original programming network. They do not acquire movies the way a Bravo does, or VH1. 350 hours on VH1, 304 hours on E. This might be a little hard to read, but this chart is about shows by night that had over 1 million people watching, which is a great number, believe it or not, a 1. And if you look at something like Monday and the number of programs that were highly rated, over 1 million viewers, look at the difference in how many reality shows are there versus how many scripted shows. Sunday is the reverse, thank you, HBO, but still, you're looking at shows across the board. On a Thursday night, 3 shows at 1 million. This is from 2014, all History Channel shows. So know that your exercise in reality pitching is not in vain. What else? Let's talk pitch. What did you guys think of the project? Yell it out. How was it? Was it fun? Was it something you wanted to do? That's good. Things to keep in mind for next time. Know your audience. I cannot tell you how many times I sit in a pitch where I just want to look at them and say, do you know that you're pitching to WeTV? Because they come to me with like, today I got a pitch that was, we'd like to come in, Zodiac International would like to come in, oh, a little graphic. Zodiac International would like to come in and pitch you a show about couples who are going to use tools from the turn of the century in order to build a society and therefore learn about their relationship. Like, what part of that is my brand? Like, should I put that next to Braxton Family Values or Marriage Boot Camp. So really think about your audience and think about your landscape. Don't be a mop. A mop is a very, very classy term that we use. Does anyone want to guess what a mop is when it comes to a pitch? The mop is the most often pitched. When we get a pitch sometimes we go, oh, it's a mop. It's because we've gotten, right now, 7,000 pitches of transgender transformation shows because of Transparent. There's other shows that have just been around forever. Songwriting competitions. There's like 10 reality shows that we hear all the time. Or there's 4 shows already on the air like that. Some people say, oh, well, if it's already on the air, then we should pitch more things like it. But not exactly like it. So keep your landscape in mind. Third is research. Some of the ones that I pulled, the ones that I pulled for tonight to talk about went a step deeper. It's one thing to just say, oh, I have an idea for a reality show. Or in our case, where we do ensemble docusoaps, and thanks to the housewives, people come to networks all the time and say, I found these 5 amazing women. Okay. So you see tape of 5 kind of cool women, and then you go, well, what's the show? Yeah, but they're 5 crazy women. But what do they do every week? Well, they're crazy, and they get together, and they drink, and they're crazy, and they go to parties. That does not a show make. So you need to actually go another level. If you're going to do a show about a company, do people actually use the company? The other day I got a pitch about bachelor auctions. Did you know that bachelor auctions are the next way that people find love? And I was like, are they? And they were like, yes, it's everywhere. And I was like, and they were like, absolutely. And I was like, well, did you find out? Like, outside of charity, where are these bachelor auctions? They were like, it's so easy to cast. We'll totally find them. They did not do their work before they came into a network to pitch. Very irritating. And is it clear? Sometimes the worst thing that can happen is you write a pitch and somebody goes, or I need you to walk me through it. So really think about the language and really try to poke holes in something. Beat it out until you found all the holes. Usually you need somebody else. Like, developing in a vacuum can be very, very hard. You have to kind of run ideas by other people. Does this make sense? And once you start working through a story, and I imagine this is true in scripted, you find where the holes are. So don't just throw it on the page. Really think about it. I wanted to show you as examples 2 development projects. And actually, you guys, I will let you vote as to whether or not these were things that WeTV might have picked up. But I guess before I say that, not that this is the Q&A part, but how many of you, and it's totally fine if you say no, how many of you have any familiarity with We? Great. I had to watch a whole bunch of shows before I started. So keep that in mind about the brand. The big hit shows for us were Braxton Family Values. Celebrity docu-series do very well for us. Kendra and Hank, they've had a show. Tamar and Vince, which is a spin-off of the Braxtons. Marriage Boot Camp are kind of our big hit shows. So, should we look at some tape? Let's look at this. We'll just watch a couple minutes of this. We'll screen this and think about this. And we will not have the vote until after both clips have rolled. Thanks. These are pitch tapes.
It's the mecca of hair. I'm the queen of Atlanta hair.
We are definitely #1.
I've made millions in this business in a very short amount of time.
I'm high class and I'm high dollar. I definitely feel like I have what it takes to be the best.
It's a dirty, dirty, dirty industry.
So I heard that you do natural hair.
Yes, high fashion natural hair.
That's it?
To be a salon owner in Atlanta, you have to have a thick skin.
Calm down.
You will never really truly know people until they just start.
You done left my salon not even paying me my rent.
If I need to use my phone, I actually.
Girl, I first saw you, couldn't let it show. I'm ready to explode.
It's like being a part of a special sisterhood.
Music make a day, I said, money, money, money make us smile.
Everybody talk about everybody.
That's actually bullshit.
Why did you leave and you was getting help? Because you didn't want no help. Salon owners are always in competition, whether it's for the same clients, hair shows, and even on photo shoots.
Money, money, money make us smile.
Oh, this looks so good.
This is the beauty business. Things can get real ugly. My name is Beauty J. That's not with a Y, it's with 2 Y's. Hands down,
All right, we could go on. We could go on. Reserve your comments. I'm going to do the next one.
Houston is the 4th largest city in the country. We're the largest city not to have a non-discrimination ordinance.
Being a woman lawyer is very, very difficult.
We are the most successful female lawyers.
I litigate multi-million-dollar cases doing civil work.
When their lips are moving, they're lying.
Civil is about money.
On the flip side to that is criminal law, where you're fighting for the ultimate freedom.
I don't agree with using my talents to set criminals free.
I mean, how dare someone say that? I'm saying someone on the street. They're just being bitches.
I took one of those cases to trial and won.
Were you against me?
I was not against you.
We about to go down. It's about beyond like Donkey Kong with these civil lawyers. I don't mind the fight. But if you start getting personal, then I'm going to annihilate you. Respectfully, fuck you.
To women that are making it in a man's world.
I am the original Alpha Eva. I use my killer instinct in court. I do not like to lose. You have to be like that when you come from the hood. I'm always David to everybody else's Goliath. I absolutely stand up to bullies. I'll take down the bully. And that's just what I do.
She's the type of person that thinks she can do absolutely anything, and you can't tell her otherwise.
Love me or hate me, they respect me.
I probably date more than most women, and I'm not embarrassed to say that. I think she's the hoe in the group.
Juanita, you know that
I believe in women's rights, and I have a right to have sex with when I want to.
Where she wanted to explore her femininity and her sexuality. And I think you can do that without screwing every guy you meet at the club.
I only have sex with one person at a time.
But that could be this week, next week, and the next week.
I'm a great lawyer, I'm an okay mom, and I fail at relationships. Let me tell you how good God is. In the middle of the night, I had an orgasm like an immaculate conception.
It just came over me.
I don't think the Lord touches your cookies.
I want to work with you because you have an immaculate orgasm.
Hands down, the best lawyer amongst us is Vivian. Criminal court is formal. I've changed the game.
If Vivian could run everything, she would. Vivian believes that she trained all of us.
It ain't another bitch-ass lawyer y'all can call at 7, 8, or 9 at night. It's going to take your call, and that's going to sit there and try cases with you. I've sat with you. Am I right or wrong? How many other women have sat with you?
I need to get my credit. Otherwise, what am I doing it for?
We ain't supposed to give her.
All right, we could go on, but we won't. All right, thoughts? You saw Beauty Wars and Sisters-in-Law. So you've all just sat in your first development meeting, because this is what my job is. Myself and my boss, we go out. These are pitched to us, the ones that we deem worthy. We take to the next level and pitch them to the president of the network, and we have this exact discussion. You are all very smart and very on base. The first one is I will give you a bad casting reel. Like when I look at production reels, it is not well done. We made the show. It premieres in May, and it's called Cutting It in the ATL. The reason we liked it, the next step for us though is that we gave them development money to go out and shoot for 3 days. So they went out and put together a more proper reel, pulling each story out. The reason we liked it is that each of those women had a very distinct point of view. They each ran a different type of salon. They were all very successful, and in a $1 million listing model, they had natural intersections. So you have Mushia, who does the natural hair. She's a star. Like, I cannot even... She is a laugh-out, funny character. She only does natural hair. Then Dedra, we didn't see much of her. She's got the super high-end corporate clientele, starting at $300 weave and extension. Then you've got Beauty J, who said, you know what? Oh no, she runs Spoiled Opulence. There's another girl who runs she's like, I'm going to capitalize on this and become the McDonald's of hair. I'm going to take my price down and then get volume. She charges $50 flat for a weave. She's made $1 million and she's franchising. So that's how we sort of answered the ensemble. They have to have a really separate point of view. The second one, you are all correct. Yes, you can have access to the courtroom in criminal cases in Houston. The question that we threw back to, and in the sizzle reel, which we funded to do an extended shoot with those women, and some were cut, some are in, we are still finding out whether or not the show can air before the case has been adjudicated or not. That was the outstanding legal question there. But my boss and I really believe in the second show, and we are trying desperately to get it picked up. We think it is a really, really good show, and for exactly what one of you said, the fact that there's a real depth of profession. Some of them are civil, some of them are criminal. What you didn't see is Jolanda with the blonde hair. Her son is in a classic Ferguson situation right now. He's a college student, good kid, coming out of a convenience store, pressed by the police in Houston to offer an ID. He didn't in enough time and was arrested. So it could not be more timely, and we really believe in it. So that was done by the producers of Dance Moms, which is a show I hate, just so you all know. And the guy that owns the company is a really good friend of mine, and every time he would call me to run that show, I'm like, oh, I'm booked. I'm so sorry. Not booked at all. Like, just do not want to run that show. But I think this is a great cast. So bravo to you all. But this is what we do. I go to New York or I'm on Skype, and we put these up and we poke holes. We see what the questions are, producers, and see if it's even feasible to make the show. Is everybody on board, and do we have the access? So that's what development is, and that's sort of the process of the pitching. So I spoke really quickly, but we don't have too much time. So we can, at this point, get into your pitches. Oh, ding. If you'd like, to sort of move on to that section. And then, questions that you have, we can answer sort of as we go. Does that sound good?
Sure.
I'll move back to the inside the actor's studio set over here. I'll take
this out of there. I want to ask you one thing about those two shows.
Yeah.
It seemed to me...
All right, settle down, people.
It seemed to me that all but one person in the audience said they preferred the lawyer show.
Mm-hmm.
And I preferred the lawyer show. You probably preferred the lawyer show. And I was wondering, I think we preferred it, because their job had something intellectual to it that we could relate to. Are we just, so far not the audience that it doesn't matter that we all feel that way? I mean, because everyone here is in college, and probably their parents went to college.
But I'm validating that feeling by telling you that I think it's also a good show, and I think we should pick it up as a...
No, I know. Yeah. I'm not saying you're against it. I'm just saying, are we so off from the average overall general audience that the fact that they're 99% in favor of one over the other in this room has no meaning when you're looking at 250 million viewers?
No, I don't know if I'm going to answer this correctly to your point, but no, I think that there's so much saturation and there's so many shows, and you guys people watch enough shows that they watch smartly and they can see it. So no, I don't think the age matters. Like a good tape is a good tape. The first is a bad tape.
Yeah, I got bored.
The second is a good tape.
I got bored on the first one. I thought it was the subject matter, but I didn't realize it just wasn't presented
It's poorly produced, it's poorly presented, but we saw the characters through that presentation.
Right.
And to Alex's point, had a very successful salon show that existed that we thought we needed a companion to. So it's like a programming issue at that point. You need a companion to an existing show.
So that's your existing show, the other one.
LA Hair.
Uh-huh.
And then this one brought it to another level by having there were multiple salons. LA Hair is about one salon. This was multiple salons, same city, different characters, and, we often give seed money just to look. I just did a sizzle. I gave somebody $25,000 to go do a sizzle reel, shoot for 3 days. It came back. It's terrible. But you know what that means? It's not a show. So that's why you do the work. So you give the money to the first tape because you see something in those characters they deliver a tape that looks more like the second tape, and then you can pick it up. But there were more issues, legally and otherwise with the second one that we had to explore before we can, pick it straight up.
Right.
And docuseries, you can't pilot. You have to make a choice. You have to go straight in and commit that money. There's no pilot.
You can't pilot because you're actually going to film things that haven't happened yet.
But you can't pilot because it's not a format.
Yeah.
So you can't docuseries are interconnected storylines that go through a whole arc. So just to pick one, and then there's a gap while you decide if you're going to pick up the pilot, and then those stories are gone, and people's hair is, it's like you have to go for it. Yeah.
By the way, there is a slide on our website for the class that I asked Angela to look at, that Abby created of 7 types of reality shows. I said,
Very good job, Abby.
Does this work for you? And she said, yeah, that's good. So I'm glad.
I'm just amazed you all know. I mean, that's the thing. The viewer is savvy enough now. You all know what the terminology is. That you know what the word docuseries is. I mean, that's why I think bad reality shows are, you're too smart as viewers. You don't need to be dumbed down.
So you want to take some pictures?
Yeah, let's take some pictures.
Okay. You want to
pick the order.
Okay. Let's start with the divorce planner. Who's going to pitch that? And there's a mic. Let's make sure the mic's on so we can get everybody recorded. Where is that mic? Oh, right in the dark. You can bring it in the light if you want. Let's see if it's working. We'd like to have it so we can record it.
So everyone can hear.
So everyone in the room can hear it, and so because we're recording this, and for people who aren't in the room, we're going to make them listen. So you got any? You hear yourselves when you talk in there?
Has anybody heard anybody else's? Oh, good.
No. You can find some light if you want. Let you come back in the light. Okay, this is going to be a real short pitch.
Okay. Heather, I'm Alex. And I'm James. And how many of you have seen shows on TV that revolve around bachelorette parties? Yeah, bachelorette parties and bachelorettes are a huge... But there's actually a world on the opposite end of that spectrum. That world is divorce parties. Yes, those exist. So what we want to do in our show is really just branch out and make sure we make a show for the... according to the APA in the U.S., divorce is at almost 50% right now. That creates a whole new market. With that in mind, the premise of our show is to follow Las Vegas socialite and divorcee Glenda Rhodes and the lavish party she plans for recent... On each episode, we would follow new parties that Glenda plans. Yeah, we're pretty much targeting kind of married and single women ages 25 to 59 who are kind of recently divorced. Whether it be burning old wedding dresses or stripping on the Las Vegas Strip, you never know what quite might happen on...
I felt like I had to be in front of you.
Could you imagine getting on an elevator with these two guys?
It happens every day. It happens when I go to the doctor. Oh, I got a show. It happens every day. Okay, I think that's a very good pitch. I chose this because we are in development on a divorce type show. The best thing about this pitch is that you found somebody to do it. When you can find you didn't pull it out of the ether. You found someone that actually does this in a location, and that's the best foundation for a show. So when you have a format, my idea for you was to not make it a docuseries, but make it format the show so that there's what we call tent poles every week that you can always rely on. And the foundation of that is by calling her and saying, what do you really do? Like, what are the 10 things that always happen at one of these parties? Like, do you take them out to get drunk? What are the 10 things that you do? And then build your foundation there. The other thing I would say is I would love to know who else works for her, because then it's like Vanderpump Rules. You've got this ensemble cast of employees, and then every week you have a new divorcee party coming in, so you kind of could bounce between the two of them. But if this is a real person, I would literally follow up with you about this next week for real. And that's amazing. because we were talking to Patty Stanger, actually, about whose deal is up at Bravo, and she's shopping, and we thought, like, she's the type of person to go into a format like this, but if this is a company, I would love to talk to you further.
Thank you.
Totally fits the look. She looks like a Desperate Housewife for sure. She looks like, yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. So if anyone wants to see it later. What were my other questions for you? Oh, is that divorce rate a true divorce rate now? I had heard it lowered.
Yeah, we find so many different, like, that's according to the APA, but we have, like, actually, like, closer to, like,
always be truthful. But that's great. The only other thing is, I love that you guys, a lot of your questions were about budget. I was asking your wonderful teacher about budget. Like, is that something that's of interest? Because we can address that a little bit, but your talent fee is very high. I would never pay her that in her first season. The first season, you pay them, like, very little because you're giving them $35,000 per ep.
Oh my God.
Which you would never do in a first season because you pitch it to them. You pay them low so you can put all the money on screen, and then you say to them, this is a 12-episode commercial for your business.
Right.
You know, get on board. $1 Million Listing guys in their first season make $5,000 an episode times 10 or 12. But the return on the business that they get is the highest paid people are the housewives, unfortunately. And there's a real sexism and there's a real disparity between what they're paid, those talent are paid versus almost anyone else on the network. So.
But they don't have a business, so it makes sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. It's even worse. But really good job. Good research into her. And bravo.
All right, thank you. All right. Next one here is Nicole. Love in the Air. Were they not on? I heard them. Yeah, it's. You can hold it, but I hope you'll find some light.
You can sing it.
All right, hi, I'm Nicole. My show is called Love is in the Air, and basically how it works is there's a company like eHarmony or Christian Mingle who gives the producers 8 couples that they've matched up on their website. So there's 16 people total, and these are the people who are the contestants on the show. And so the first 2 episodes, each contestant gets a schedule of dates they get to go on with each person of the opposite sex. And so they go on these dates, they get to know these people, and then the girls get on an airplane and the guys get on an airplane. And they're both going to the same destination, but on this flight, they have a list of the bios and photos of the people they just went on dates with, and their task is to figure out who they're matched up with. And so before the plane lands, they have to cast their votes, and when they get off the airplane, the flight attendant tells them who their match is from the company, and if they get it right, they get a certain amount of points, and if they don't, they get 0. But either way, they get paired up with the person that they were matched with on the website, and this is their partner for the rest of the show. And this is where the game really starts. The final destination is some romantic country like Italy or France, and it's a week vacation with your new person, and everything's paid for, your vacation, your hotel, shows, everything. But the catch is only one couple makes it to the final destination, because up until then there are multiple pit stops and layovers in different airports, and at each layover a couple gets cut. So the couples get on the airplane, and at the first layover there is a task or challenge that they have to complete, and they have to complete a certain amount of time, and whoever falls in a certain ranking, that's how many points you get. Your points are all kept on your boarding card. So when you get back on the plane, the flight attendant scans your boarding card, and if you fall below the line, or if you have the least amount of points, you don't get invited back on the plane, and you are cut from the show. So everyone else gets back on the plane. They have 2 or 3 hours, however long the flight is, that they have to sit next to their partner and create this relationship. And then at the end of the show, you end up with one couple, and they get the grand prize of the week vacation. The end.
Thank you.
So I picked this one because we're doing a show called Love Taxi with Ray J. So Ray J, who is amazing, by the way, and he's this big. So he is the driver of a cab in New York City, and there's one single, and she's got her bags packed, and she gets in the cab, and they stop all over the city and pick pick up a guy in each one, and that like they drive in the car and they get to know each other, and then at the next stop she can either ditch him or keep him and bring a new guy in, and then it goes on until she gets to the airport, and then whoever she picks, whoever the last man standing goes on the trip with her, same style. So I love that you're in the space, like, because networks are in this space. And I thought this was really cute. Did anybody see the winning Super Bowl Doritos commercial? Do you recall that? It was the $1 million commercial. It's a good friend of mine who did it, and it's all takes place on an airplane. It's about sort of hiding your seat. So I think it was really clever to put this on a plane, and because you have we talk about the organizing principle a lot in our development meetings, which means what is the reason that you would go on this show? Is there a compelling reason? Because my network is skewed a little older. We're not MTV. We can't just do a frivolous dating show. For this, you could really pitch it as busy singles. I travel all the time for work. I spend all of my life on an airplane. Why not put me in a space where I could actually meet someone? So that's why I thought it was very clever and worth sharing. My notes for this were, I wondered if the whole thing could take place on the plane.
That's what I wanted it to be, but I couldn't figure out how to make that interesting.
Yeah, no, it's hard. It's like because Love Taxi takes place completely in the car, like Taxi Cab Confessions, and I think it would make it. Yours is the more, and smartly she pitched it as a show for ABC. Your version is more Amazing Race, so it's a bigger budget, it's a lot of travel and a lot of gameplay, so it's a better network show. For a cable show, I would probably scale it back, and maybe you design little games where you have to switch seats, or
It's like speed dating.
Yes. Yes. So that could be the cable version of the show. And then the only other thing, if you guys are looking at just general note, how an episode breaks down, like you have episode 1 introductions, episode 2 are speed dates, episode 3 contestants. The viewer is going to want to get there faster. So it's like you got to think about like that first 10 minutes are the introductions, and then your next act, if you think of an hour in a 6-act structure, like just moving it through because people's attention spans they're all tweeting while they're watching. So, but yeah, I think there's a network version here and a cable version here. So it was really cute, really fun.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Nicole. And we have Danielle with Glorious. Are you here?
Oh, I am.
Don't worry. Here's what you do.
Here,
Tell
let me
us
give
why
you the mic.
you
Can you give her
chose
the other mic?
Okay.
If it's working? So just wing it.
We're putting you on the spot. Wing it. No judgments.
Okay, well, alright. The reason why I picked Gloria Allred is because they
don't know who she is.
Okay.
Some of those people.
Okay. So basically, Gloria Allred is the lawyer who covers all of the big criminal cases for celebrities. So I thought that idea would be good because I loved her so much. I thought people would be really interested in Gloria Allred and how she works for celebrities. I don't know. My idea really needs to be developed more, but that's I just liked her as a person, and I thought the people around her would be good on a TV show, and she's been on a couple TV shows before, but they haven't really been well developed, so I thought that there's something better for her.
So Danielle called this Glorious, which was a great title.
Yeah. And she is also very much into feminist causes.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of her cases have to do with women's rights.
Yes.
Actually, that's the way I know her more than celebrities.
Any sexual harassment case that's high profile, she's on it. So I chose this because several years ago I met with her because she was out there pitching. So the number one thing is, because I agree, I think she's fascinating. She's always up in everybody's business. She's the first one to the podium when something happens. She's the first one to defend all the Bill Cosby people. She's out there. I would say yes, it would have been great to go one step further next time and be does she have an office? She does. But who works in her, who the hell works in her office? Does she have paralegals? Does she have 15 other lawyers working for her? I'd love to know that. And secondly, I think it's better when you're going to pick one person. Those are the two things. When somebody pitches us a celebrity, yesterday I got pitched Jermaine Dupri. You guys know him? He's a producer. So the tape smartly showed me who else, the two questions you asked, who else is around them. So you want to show, like, who are the 5 key people in their world. And number 2, what is the series arc? You familiar with that? So it's not just like I'm going to follow her around and follow her cases. It's like, what's she leading to? With that Sisters-in-Law tape you watched, our series arc's probably going to be Jolanda and her son, because that's one story that we'll be able to follow that has high stakes, as somebody smartly mentioned earlier, and it affects all of the other characters, because some of those women are criminal attorneys and they're going to feel one way, and some of those women are civil attorneys. So I wonder what it is about, and even like Googling Gloria Allred, if you Google her and you find that she has just decided to become a yoga instructor on the side, like that's weird. Like that's a series arc. Like she's going to get certified over the series. Something. It's like trying to find that one nugget that's a surprise for the audience making a transition. I have a personal passion for a young woman named Esther Dean, who's familiar with us, who's seen Pitch Perfect. Okay, Esther Dean is Cynthia Rose, but do you know who Esther Dean really is? Does anybody know? Esther Dean is one of the #1 songwriters in pop. She writes almost all of Rihanna's hits. I mean, she wrote, name them, Rude Boy, I mean, all of them, and she goes into the studio and like jams out lyrics. So she's very famous. There's all these things about Esther Dean, but does she have that series arc to sustain the show? So that's a big thing. So honestly, people who knock reality TV, we really are storytellers at the end of the day. You're dealing with somebody's real life, which actually makes it more difficult, challenging, and interesting to me. So, but anyway, I thought she was a great find. She is out there. I think people are trying to find the right vehicle for her. I think she's personally fascinating. I have a signed copy of her book because I do enjoy some Gloria. So good. So well done, Danielle.
Okay,
good
great. And we have a large group with Project Def Jam. Who's gonna do
Wyatt,
that?
Abby, Marissa, and William. Brought to you by... And I would like you guys to actually say the tagline for everybody, because if you don't, I'm going to, because it's pretty great.
You can hold the mic. You can pass the mic around if you want.
I don't really even need a mic.
Okay.
So my name's William, and the name of our series is Project Def Jam, Keeping It Deaf from the East to West. No,
that's not the one I want. I want the one after that.
Oh, it's not MTV or BET. It's IPHOP.
Boom.
There we go. So the series features
the whitest
15
people in the world.
rappers and 15 producers, all competing for a contract with Def Jam Records, which is the top hip-hop record label in the world. So each show will begin with an event called the Showcase, which analyzes the song of a successful Def Jam artist. The artist and the producer will go through the elements that made the song successful, and it will enhance the contestants. Each team or each rapper and producer will then have to make a hip-hop song for the end of the week, perform in front of 3 judges, each of whom, and the judges will cut 1 rapper and 1 producer that week. Finally, the prize will be a year-long contract for the rapper and a 5-song contract for the producer. The reason I think the show is going to be successful is because the blueprint's kind of out for shows like these. America clearly likes them with shows like American Idol, but this shows a more total view of the music-making process. And especially with something like hip-hop, which has gone from an underground medium to popular culture, and it's just continued.
Great, thank you.
That's
terrific. You
okay.
got anything to add? Okay, that's the one. Well, you did.
Did he do all right? All right.
You did a good job.
Listen, the reason why this is timely, you forgot to add. Thank you.
Right.
Amen. The minute that Empire hit those numbers.
Right.
Every cable network that has an African American audience like us was like, what's the real life Empire? Like and same with Being Mary Jane. It's like it was one of the number one premiered shows. I'm like, where's the real life Being Mary Jane? So I put that in development. Empire totally changed the landscape. So yes, you're very on point with that. So a couple notes for you guys. You guys had the most thorough of all the treatments. It's incredibly, and I mean that, I'm not judging, that's in a good way. Like you really thought this through and you really went down into the details of who would be in the show, from the judges to the producers to the rappers and the songs, which was great. What I would give you as a note for next time is a lot of this is like your internal monologue as opposed to a sales document. Every pitch is a sell. When you go in to any of these rooms, you have to dance like you've never danced before. It's like the most enthusiastic sales thing, and you are singing and dancing in there to sell this show clearly and cleanly. So next time you make one of these documents, you want to make that for the network executive audience and not like the technical part of the money or the budget or like the internal. Like we would do the show like this. Like no, that's not, you want sales language in that document. The two things I would also ask you to think about are, does anyone remember a show called Platinum Hit? Nobody watched it but me. I was the only one that watched it on Bravo. It was a songwriting competition show. And the thing that you really have to think about with this is when you have more deeper type of competition, when it's when it's writing and, in the studio, when I was reading about Esther Dean, when these artists go into the studio, they really riff. A producer has laid down a track. They play the track, and the artist goes in there and just freestyles until they come up with something that they like. That's one step, that's visual, but what else about songwriting and riffing is visual? Because television is a visual medium and not, just a listening one. So think about within that, like what might those challenges look like week on week, that there's real variety and that you're seeing them go out and do something. That's why there's all these contrived challenges on The Apprentice, because it's visual. And then the other thing I would think about, the thing that would scare me about this is the clearances. And could you get, how much would it cost me to clear this music? However, the original music would not be a problem. So if they're writing new stuff every week, great, sign your life away to me in those legal documents before we start. But the popular music. Also, why I chose this, we're doing a show right now, it's in development, called Growing Up Hip Hop. And it's got Angela Simmons, and it's got LL Cool J's son, it's got Bow Wow, like all the kids. And one of them it's like going to take over his dad's label, so it's definitely the right time for something like this.
All right, great. Thank you. And there's one more that's so visual.
We're putting you on the spot, Matt Ramey.
Can you get the visuals up from your?
Well, I should have I don't think I downloaded it.
Oh.
But let me see. I'm going to see if I can. I didn't download it. Surprise. Surprise. I know. I know you weren't.
I sent it here because I was so impressed with the visuals, and I didn't know that Angela was going to
Yeah, I'd have to log in because I don't have my email up.
Oh, well, are you okay doing that? Yeah. Angela?
If you give me a Wi-Fi password.
It should be free. It's just...
Chapman University Network. Alrighty. All right, you're just going to awkwardly stand by while we work this out.
Well, while you do that, I'll do something else. I'm going to leave all of your Bibles or presentations. The words are used interchangeably, by the way. Bible suggests big or longer. I purposely used the word Bible because we're already using the word presentation for your student presentations. I didn't want to get them confused. But I'm going to leave these reality show Bibles or pitches or whatever they are up for another week. And I would love you to read a whole bunch of them. there are two different classes here. So read the other ones in your class. And the beginning of our class next week, let's talk about your reactions to them, what you feel are the best sales pitches, what you feel are the best shows, anything you like. But my purpose is to get everyone to see what is more of a sales pitch and what is less of a sales pitch. And I think if you'll read 10 of them or so, You'll get a feeling next time you have to write something that is essentially a sales pitch. You'll have more experience in knowing what that is. So I'd like to try that. I've never done it before, so I hope you guys will do that, and I'll also put it in an announcement and send it to you all. Oh, there it is.
No, that was a good talk. My degree is in professional writing, as I mentioned, and honestly, that was the foundation of sales writing. And when I worked for 3 Bell Productions, I spent 2.5 years writing every piece of creative that went out the door for every pitch we did. And it's a great skill. The writing in this TV world, if you're a production company and you're going to sell a show, every day. Today, I made a phone call to a production company that's like, listen, this creative is not here. I need you to go back, rearrange these scenes. There's a lot of writing, and it's a great skill to have, to be able to cleanly communicate a story.
But look
and
at
that, Matt Rainey.
Okay. So as you can see, my show is called Showstopper.
Oh, sorry, there's my email downloading from work.
His email.
Call sheet for LA Hair tomorrow.
Yeah, so Showstopper. It's a show about the world of electronic dance music, EDM. How many of you guys listen to EDM? Show
like
you.
this guy.
Pretty much everyone. Right now, EDM. Pretty much, if you haven't listened to EDM, I don't know what you're listening to. But right now, EDM is the #1 growing genre of music right now. It's actually, their digital sales are up 8% as compared to pop and rock music that are down almost like 12 and 15%. So it's a growing industry, really popular with young kids. And what this show is about the music side of creating EDM. All of us are on the other side, listening to it, dancing. But this, I wanted to show the artistry behind it. So what it is, it's a competition show for 10 top undiscovered DJs and producers who will go onto the show and compete in a series of challenges each week to determine who is the showstopper. So some types of challenges are, we begin the show with a flash challenge. It's a fun little challenge that tests some skills that
Tell Angelo to change the picture.
Oh, I had told him I wasn't going to do that, but okay, sure.
you
It's up to you.
Okay, yeah.
Which one would you like?
The competition. So each week they face off in a series of challenges revolving around different genres of EDM. So with the bottom DJ being eliminated every single week.
Slide.
Yeah, so the flash challenges. They're fun challenges that are designed to just test ideas. Contestants would win sponsored prizes and also receive immunity from that week's elimination. Some things would be like to remix a track, design, like a stage design, things like that. Yeah, and so then, moving on from there, they would have the challenge of the week. And the challenge of the week would be to produce their own original song based on that week's genre. So the competitors' songs are judged based on, multitude of factors that the 3 celebrity judges would base them upon. So basically, whoever does the worst with the original song goes into the elimination challenge. And in the elimination challenge, the bottom 2 competitors will face off head-to-head in elimination mix. So basically what they'll do is they'll go into a club and perform a 30-minute mix for a live audience. And they'll be judged not only on crowd appeal, but by the judges and the use of original material, technical ability, things like that.
Great. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so some judges, celebrity judges like Tiesto, Steve Aoki, you guys might have heard of them. They own record labels as well, or festival promoters like the guy who made EDC, his name is Pascal. So there's different kind of judges that could judge the show. And the prize could be a record deal with a sponsored record, a main stage slot at a festival, a home DJ spot at a club, or a cash prize. And shooting location could be at a club that is sponsors the show. And some potential sponsors, DJ equipment companies, audio companies, hotels and nightclubs, festivals, record labels, energy drinks because they sponsor everything, music software companies, etc.
Done.
Great. Thank you, Matt.
On the fly. Okay.
Thank you. I really wanted you guys to see that. I was just so taken with it visually.
It's this a professional deck, as we call it. I mean, you could submit this. It's very plus it's clean. The cleaner, the better. Trust me. Network executives, we live up to our reputations. We do not like to read a lot of words. We like to go like this. I like it or I don't. So this is very clean. There's not a million things on each page. So you've laid it out perfectly. My worry with this is, again, with any music show, clearance on the fees of the popular music, and can you license it? And then also that it is. I like that you have statistics and that you did your homework, but I still think it's niche.
Yeah.
I still think it's niche, and I'm not sure how broad of a reach.
Crowd, yeah.
Right. So it's like, could because you want a channel that's going to embrace the music. Like, is it Fuse? Is it
I think Fuse.
Yeah. There you go. Well done.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Great. You want to take some questions? Let's get people. You ready for that?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's get
You have a few
anybody who
minutes.
wants a question. I'd like to get you near a microphone so we get it recorded. There's a gentleman right in the front row.
All right. So
Who are you?
Oh, I'm Noah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
Oh, he's giving himself a participation point.
So when you get a pitch, like how valuable is it to have a specific person, picked out? What percentage of the pitches would you say that you accept, don't have, they're just a concept, there's no, and we found this person who'd be perfect? Does that help a lot to have found real characters?
100% yes.
Yeah.
However, if you come up with it depends on the genre. If you come up with the best format, like the Love is in the Air dating format, that does not need to come with talent. Because if you sell that concept, because it's formatted, there's beats, it's a game show.
Right.
You can work with the network that buys it to pick the talent that's appropriate to the network. Anything that's in the docu world must have talent. Or it helps in a pitch like this, or some of the others that had judges or a panel. Yes, it really helps to come to the table with someone. It helps the dumb network executive envision it.
When I saw the words, and I don't even think I remembered them right, divorce party, what is it? Planner. I was sold. And when I saw it was a real person, it wasn't just a theoretical idea.
That's a very good point.
I didn't have to read anymore. I didn't even care how she formatted it. I knew what to do with it.
But it could have been a mop. It could have easily just been a mop if nobody had been attached. But the fact that somebody was attached who really
That's
does
what I mean.
this as an existing business was the key.
Yeah, I mean because it was
To
a
your
real
question.
person.
Yeah.
The hook was the person.
Yeah.
So who else? Here's the man in green. Can you get near a
I have
microphone?
He's close
Hello.
to the mic.
Okay, there's a man with a microphone. By the way, you other people, come over here and we'll put this mic where it's closer to you. And come on and you can get. I'm not supposed to put it in the aisle, but.
My name's Derek, and you mentioned that you hate dance moms. So I was just wondering, of the shows that aren't produced by the network that you work at, what is your favorite reality show to watch?
My favorite reality show of all time is American Idol. Because I don't think that anybody produces triumph, emotion, or story better than that show for 15 years. I really think that they have it right. So that's a very formatted show, and I don't typically watch the big network shows. Right now, I'm digging Barely Famous, even though I know it's scripted. I think it's hilarious, and I think it's a great model for unscripted. And I tend to gravitate towards things that are different. I understand why people like Duck Dynasty. It doesn't mean it's right for me, but I think it's a really well done show. And what else of late? I really liked a show that tanked this year called The Singles Project. It was a format. Did I hear a yes? Somebody else watched that besides me? God bless you. It was only two of us. It was a British format, and I liked the immediacy of it. It was like a live dating show. So people were set up and going on dates, and then the audience would text and tweet commentary about the dates that they, on the next episode they would read about themselves and then go out on the next dates. I liked the format. It didn't work. But it's good. I like anything that has a foundation of reality. I just don't go for anything that's completely contrived. I loved season 1 of Beverly Hills Housewives and New Jersey Housewives. Loved it and have never loved it since.
Over here.
My name is Alexander. I'm wondering, when you're looking at new pitches for...
It's an excellent question, and I think it depends on the timing of the network and what's going on in the particular rating cycle of the program. Oftentimes you do want a companion program to something. On our network, we have a strong African American female audience. So we're going to try to find, so if Braxton's is a hit, we're going to try to find something like that. Marriage Boot Camp is a hit, we want to like a companion. However, it is I've never heard that before idea, and it's so weird. I was about to give $30,000 a couple weeks ago to a girl named Marawa, who is the championship hula hooper in the world. And she's going to move to LA and start a hula hooping troupe. That is so bizarre that I have to see more. So it depends on the timing and what your ratings are like. We have premiered a show a few weeks ago called Sex Box. We bought it because we're a small network and it has a loud title and we wanted the attention. We wanted the bad press so that people would come. If it had worked, which the ratings have been very soft, we would have wanted many more programs like it. It didn't work, now we have to go in a bit of a different direction. So it often is dictated by ratings.
I have a question. If you, before you got into the industry, if you could go back and tell yourself one thing, or if you could give yourself a piece of advice and change something, what would that be?
I saw that question and I was like, I was trying to think of a good answer. I think maybe I would have taken some risks sooner. I was too, afraid to make a big move to New York, or California right out of school. And I don't know if I don't regret it because I'm grateful for all the experience that I got in the meantime, but I think if I had gotten more physical production experience earlier, that might have been more valuable than going a corporate route. But I just was too sort of scared to take a leap. So I think I would tell myself to take a bigger leap. Drama. I think that drama and aspiration. I think that no matter what your life is like, theirs is stranger and more expensive. And people in middle America are going to watch it. So and if they're going to fight every week and deliver on that, people will keep watching.
I think it's working. So everybody, well, I think this one is working. Is what? Okay.
Hi, my name's Joel.
Hi, Joel.
Sorry. Can you give me more specifics and more of your personal reason why you don't like Dance Moms?
Because
I'm flabbergasted. I love it so much.
It's fake. I thought that the first season was fabricated. To me, and maybe it wasn't, but to me, it looked like every piece of it, from the casting to the way they were interacting, was a producer telling them what to do, and that they had not organically been put into that situation, as opposed to making it more documentary. I produce shows. When I did $1 Million Listing, that's produced. But all those people are real. They are real estate agents that go to an office every day. Those are the real clients, the real houses, the real buyers. To me, Dance Moms looked produced and felt produced. So I just disrespect it. Plus, I think she's gross. And when you think, as a producer, you have to separate it. It's like, my family is from Pittsburgh. My mom's from Pittsburgh. I went to college in Pittsburgh. I would have loved nothing more than to spend 8 weeks in Pittsburgh. But I'm like, do I want to spend 8 weeks with this woman? Absolutely not.
You're actually correct. They've looked into it further and a lot.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, it's interesting. You're seeing it from such different perspectives. You're just watching it as a viewer, and you're seeing it as a producer.
It's hard to watch reality shows as a producer because you dissect everything.
Yeah, sure.
I'm Maggie, and I just have a question. So you've a BA in professional writing and French, and so that's a very different skill than what a lot of us have here at a film school. What's the skill that you feel people in your industry are missing most often?
Writing. I'm working with a producer right now. I was asked to oversee LA Hair this season, and the showrunner has an amazing list of credits, from Queer Eye to Marriage Boot Camp, fantastic list of credits. He cannot write for poop. He really cannot. So we've had to delegate all the writing. Doesn't mean he can't deliver it or execute it, but we've had to delegate it to somebody else on his team. So you're right. My school had a drama school and it had a film minor, but it didn't have a traditional TV program. So that's why I interned and did the internships for credit and took kind of everything I could in the meantime. But I'm very grateful because what I did on the writing side there was the foundation of writing pitches.
And just to clarify, when you say writing, are you talking about like story format writing or just professional writing?
Everything. Like honestly, some people cannot craft an email that's clear. You know, like when you're a producer or an executive like myself, the number of people you have to communicate with is astounding. My first real job out of college, I was a PA at a production company in DC, but then I got this job at the local PBS station, and I was the programming assistant. So I worked on the program schedule. I had to distribute that schedule to everyone internally. The development people that were doing the fundraising, the online group, the magazines that did all the listings. So even like being able to talk to all of those different groups of people is a skill that everyone needs to have in this business. Or when you're a producer, you have to talk to dirty cameramen, dirty sound guys, plus the finance people that are budgeting your show. You have to know how, I'm like, I need like 10 more grand to pull this off tomorrow. Like, what can I have? Like, it's that negotiating and finessing. But yeah, even writing an email, writing a concise pitch document that has all of the things that you need, that's both creative and gets the business across, is a tall order that takes practice.
I never heard of a professional writing degree, but it sounds like a great idea.
Carnegie
It's like
Mellon
every kind of writing.
It was a vocational school. It was a technical school set up by Andrew Carnegie, and they did not have a traditional BA in English until I was a junior.
Huh.
So you had a technical writing, professional writing. We did a lot of journalism classes, magazine writing, but I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, that's great. I've some of my best students in master's programs and in extension have been people who work in PR and advertising, because they write every day. And moving into screenwriting isn't as big a leap when you have all that writing background.
Right. The counterpart to my job is like account executive at an ad agency.
Uh-huh.
Like we kind of do the same. You're moving a project along.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, my name is Kelly. Obviously you have a very, out of everything that you've done, what is the one mistake that you've made that you're still kicking yourself over?
What, mistake? Was that the key word? No, that's a great question.
Sometimes I've trusted people too much. You know, there's a lot of there's a lot of wonderful people, and I can't speak to the scripted side. I have an impression that the unscripted side of the business is a lot nicer than the movie side or the scripted TV side. The hours are different. It's non-union. Like, there's a lot of issues that make it a little more of a safer place. But I've gotten into situations where I've become too close to people too quickly, and it's sort of backfired. And not that I would ever advocate you just kind of I would advocate watching yourself, because there are people that will absolutely destroy you. And you know what? And in my 20s, I was a gossip, and I really regret that. I really do. When you get if you're in a bad office situation, which you will be, especially, you will have a bad job. Like, you just will. Like, some jobs will be bad. And if you get wrapped up in it and you start picking and gossiping, and that becomes more of your job, it's not good. So I just stay out of it. That's what I would say is I wish there are some situations I wish I had just not gotten involved in. It's very easy to get caught up in what's wrong as opposed to concentrating on what's going well.
Thank you.
Could I answer that for me?
Yes. Please.
I may have said this to one of the two classes. I once I went to a pitch meeting, and I expected the head of the department, the head of drama at CBS, and he sent an underling to the meeting. It's a new hire to do the meeting without the boss, and it was a disaster. And so the next time I had a pitch meeting at CBS, I tried to reach the boss on the phone to say, I hope you'll take the meeting, and I couldn't reach him, and he kept calling me back and missing me. My big mistake was I wrote him a note, and I put in writing what I thought was a completely mild thing to say. I said, I hope you'll take the meeting that's coming up because I feel like I have more rapport with you than with Kim. Kim became the president of CBS. Oh. And Kim LeMasters, and for several years, whatever department I went to at CBS, I wasn't selling anymore. And I eventually learned from him through my ex-wife, who he told this to, that in his view, that note, I was attempting to get him fired. And it never occurred to me in a million years. But so I learned never put anything bad about anyone in writing.
Sony. That is very true. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Carly, and the TV industry is a very largely male-dominated industry, and I was wondering, as a woman, were there any extra challenges that you had to face or any benefits that came from being?
It's funny you say that, because I have been in situations where we are trying to find a man to hire. Reality TV is very female dominated on the producer side and the cable networks are very female dominated. So I unfortunately cannot answer that only in the sense that I have just worked with many women, and to the point where literally I'm hiring somebody now and we were like, we should just really only hire men or like try to look for a guy to balance out the department. So I mean, I'm sure it's true. There is absolutely a salary disparity, and especially now that I'm coming out of being a freelancer and realizing how little I made in relationship, you should all read, yes, Lean In. You should all read Lean In. It really talks about that, about how we are not strong negotiators for ourselves the way men are for themselves. But I've not had that experience because I have worked for so many women.
Quick follow-up. So do you feel like as a woman, would it be easier to break in via reality TV or scripted TV, or should you just go for whatever you're passionate about?
Go for it. You go for the first job that you get. I mean, really, like you should, when I talk about entitlement, just do not poo-poo any entry-level work if it's office PA, because the best thing you can do in getting coffee 3 days a week for someone is meeting everybody else in that office. And that everybody else in that office is going to take you to the next thing. I mean, I've always just gone where somebody has taken me. I very rarely have looked for something specific once I found that first in.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. You know, you guys with the microphones could stand in the light. So we could see
My
you.
name's Raven, and coming from somebody who's more interested in the crew and production aspect instead of being a producer, I'm not sure how much experience you have with scripted crew and everything or anything, but I know that scripted TV probably has a larger crew with more people working on everything and more stuff to do. What is reality TV crew like? I mean, like what are the key positions and what kind of things transfer over, etc.?
Crew is a whole world. It's like it should be its own reality show. Crew, it's a whole thing. Yes, scripted crews are 3 to 8 times the size of reality crews. We're skeleton crews because of the budgets compared to the trucks. They're all union. We're mostly non-union. Some shows flip. Crew is great. There's amazing camaraderie. You work the longest. You're in first and out last. You're dirty physically. Like you get physically dirty. You carry things. The things are heavy. You're hauling stuff somewhere. I have more respect for crew. I love crew, and I'm a producer that treats crew like gold. I bake for my crew, and I've kept my crew. For every show I did, I took the same 5 people along with me from the crew, because you develop a rapport. The best crew are people who, in reality, it's sound, camera, PA, assistant camera, gaffer, grip, lighting department, occasionally production design.
Are there directors?
Sometimes. It depends on the shows. Bigger, multi-camera shows have directors. 2-camera shows typically no. But the best crew, no matter what your job is, are the crew that listens. If you're listening to story, you have a major leg up and you become very valuable to the producer. There's sound guys that will literally have their headphones on and they play with their buttons. They fall asleep during interviews. Then there are sound guys who listen and spy and be like, Flag's doing coke in the bathroom right now because he's listening, you know? So you have to the crew that listens is the crew. So scripted, there's tons. I mean, there's just tons of crew. Union is There's specific crew to pick up the cable. There's specific crew to hang the lights. There's a lot of great lighting design, production design avenues in crew. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Great, thanks. Let's just keep it at the people who are already in line, and we'll end with the lady in blue.
Hi, okay, I'm Julie, and I guess I'm curious because anyone who likes reality shows kind of likes to see a train wreck. So, like, what are the worst pitches that you've ever heard, or like the worst aspects of pitches that you see and just go like, okay, that's a deal breaker? Just any kind of faux pas in a pitch or in a structure of a show that turns you off immediately.
I told my colleagues that we were doing this, they were helping me put those tapes together, and I was like, we should put like the worst pitches into the batch, and we found a couple that were like not downloadable. We get horrible pitches. 70% of them are terrible. Mostly because they're off-brand. Not because they're so outrageous that nobody would do it, but it's like, why would you pitch this to us? We got one last week, and they were, the thing that's great, here's two. The thing that's great is when they get so excited, and they're like, this is the greatest show you could ever buy. And you're already, that's a major clue. This is going to be terrible. Like, you know immediately. They're like, this show's a hit. So not a hit. So this is so secret, we can't even put the title in the email. Sex tape. Couples who are on the verge make a sex tape to spice up their marriage.
Oh, great.
Horrible idea. Like, in every way. Like, who would watch that show? That is a terrible, terrible idea. Like, Then I had this guy, Tony Krantz. I go to CAA for the meeting, because it was like in the middle of the offices. And his name is Tony Krantz. Look him up. Major scripted producer. Felicity, the latest version of Dracula on NBC with Jonathan Rhys-Meyers. I'm like, I love that show. I watched every episode of it, and I was super excited to meet Tony Krantz. And I'm like, I'm going to fangirl you. I love Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, blah, blah, blah. Chat, chat, chat. Sits down. This is the greatest reality show you will ever have. This show is a hit. I can't believe nobody's ever done it. And it was about a specific style of Latin dancing, and these people in LA that do this dancing competitively. But the problem is that he spoke almost exclusively about how he shot it and how he would direct it. He was like, I can make this for $350,000 a half an hour, which is double what a half an hour should ever cost. And he's like, and I'm going to direct. And I'm going to use a Movi camera, and it's going to be all lit. So the whole tape was 5 minutes of style and zero substance. It was literally people dancing through the frame and a couple of introductions. So sometimes to me, not the content, the worst pitches are the ones that you just have not thought about what that show actually looks like episodically. And scripted people have that problem because they're used to making 2 hours as opposed to 10 or 12. And then from there, multi-seasons of 10 or 12, that's a lot to come up with. That they're like, I'm just going to make it beautiful and it's going to work. Like, basically, he was like, you would be so stupid not to buy this. And I called his agent later and I was like, Katie, I'm never going to buy that. I was like, no one's going to buy that show. And she goes, I know. I tried to tell him.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Marissa. I was just wondering, because the TV business changes all the time, so I was wondering where you see reality TV in 10 years.
Oh, really good question. I don't know. It's content-wise, it's cyclical. You go through patterns of, although this was more true when there was less 10 years ago, you through patterns of positive programming, 3 Wishes, and Extreme Makeover Home Edition, and American Idol, things that make you cry. Then you go through nasty periods where there's the shows that try to punk you in some way. Not punk, that was a good show, but so sometimes then you go through the Housewives phase, then you go, I think it will still be around in 10 years, because again, it's cost effective. It's cheaper and faster. The timeline for reality is a fraction of the scripted process, as you well know. So it will still be here. I don't know what it will look like in 5 years, it will look pretty much the same as it does now. In 10 years, maybe it's shorter, and maybe I'm going to go this year to VidCon for the first time, because maybe there's something to the amount of time or the stars that are on TV might look different than they do now. Instead of a housewife-age person who's really wealthy, maybe it's someone who's got 20 million followers on Vine. That could be it. So we can only guess. We work about 3 years out, and it's anybody's guess 10 years from now. So it's a great question that I don't know the answer to.
Thank you.
I predict there are going to be fewer cable channels in 10 years because of
fewer subscribers.
The unbundling trend that's going on. I can't imagine that Discovery is going to be able to support Discovery 5 or Animal Planet 3
Discovery
or
is
MTV
a
7.
different example because of their international reach. So it's the smaller nets that don't have an international distribution that will be hurt the most.
Well, I mean Discovery's fifth channel in line. I don't mean the main Discovery.
But all Discovery, they have so many brands that reach, it might not be profitable here, but that programming that they make for here might sell all over the world and makes back their investment times 8. So they'll keep it. But your point is true. I think there will be far less channels, especially if we all stop using cable.
Or even if the cable companies are forced to unbundle.
To unbundle.
All right. Last one.
Great. My name is Tori.
Make it good. You're the last one.
Seriously. So you've worked at a lot of major companies, but out of all of the places you've worked, what has been the work environment that you've appreciated the most?
I worked at a company for 3.5 years called World of Wonder, which is maybe a terrible name for a company. And they produce RuPaul's Drag Race. They produce $1 Million Listing. They produce the Fantasia series, tons of shows. They've been in business for 25 years. They're owned by 2 gay guys who used to be partners and club kids in the 90s. They did a movie called oh my God, Party Monster. Okay, so they were, that's about them. Like they were all those club kids in the 90s. And James St. James, who I think Seth Green plays, works at World of Wonder. The reason why it is the most unique working environment, because God love them, Randy and Fenton, they're the owners, they've never cared about doing a network show. They have stuck completely to what they wanted to do. For 25 years. They love making documentary. They make Emmy Award-winning documentaries a lot for HBO. They did a Monica Lewinsky one. They did Becoming Chaz. They did one about Tammy Faye Baker, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, which was theatrical. They did the Britney thing on E! Last year. If you saw the I Am Britney Jean, great stories there. It was the most eclectic group of people. You know, we were like the straight arrows at $1 Million Listing. But the reason why, for me, is that they would, when I was down from that show, they'd be like, here's a pilot, go do that. Or here's, Mario Lopez is getting married, want to go work on that? Or like, LaToya Jackson's doing a show, want to do, yes, of course, I want to go work with LaToya Jackson. So, it's just a unique place, but there are not many people. They own their own building, and they have not sold out to an international conglomerate. Most of the companies now are owned by Endemol Shine, Banijay, I don't think Randy and Fenton will ever sell. Like they just do what they want to do. And Rue is amazing, by the way. Love me some Rue. Has an office, comes to it, hangs out.
Thank you. Let me ask one from the list here. If you could develop your dream project, what would it be?
No idea. I tried to think of something for that too. I do not know. I don't have a dream project. I've had many shows that I've made on my own that have not sold, and I thought that they were obvious choices and they don't sell because of whatever cycle. We found a family in Arizona, 5 kids, mother and father.
That. I saw that.
Oh no, this is new. This is new, and they own a church and they all work in the church. And I'm like, this is obvious. And none of the kids are allowed to have sex. They're all virgins until they're married. Like, it was perfect. Nobody bought it. So I don't have a perfect show because I think the client, every week I have a different show that I think is perfect.
Great. Well, Angela, thank you so much. I think
Thanks,
it's really
guys.
terrific to have you. Really appreciate it.